Captain Lee Nari stood on the bridge of the UES Determination, watching the stars through the large window. Her ship was the pride of Earth's space fleet. It was the first vessel built to travel far beyond their solar system. After 3 years of planning and building, humanity was finally ready to explore the galaxy. Nari was 35 years old and had spent her entire adult life preparing for this moment. She had studied alien languages, space navigation, and diplomatic protocols. Her crew of 42 people represented the best Earth had to offer. Each person on her ship was an expert in their field. The communication panel beeped softly. Lieutenant Yoon Da-hye turned toward Nari with excitement in her eyes. "Captain, we're receiving a message from outside our solar system. It's not from any human ship." Nari felt her heart race. First contact with alien life had always been a possibility, but now it was happening. "Put it through the main speakers," she ordered. The voice that came through was strange, but spoke perfect English. "Greetings, humans of Earth. We are the Vorthak Collective. We have observed your species for many cycles and are impressed by your progress. We extend an invitation to participate in our advancement protocol." Dr. Kim Tae-ho, the ship's lead scientist, stepped forward. He was a tall man with kind eyes who had devoted his life to studying the possibility of alien life. "This is incredible, Captain. They've been watching us and want to make contact," the alien voice continued. "The advancement protocol is a series of evaluations designed to determine if a species is ready to join the galactic community. Many civilizations have benefited from our guidance. We believe humanity has great potential." Park Ji-woo, the ship's military advisor, frowned. He was a careful man who always looked for danger before opportunity. "Captain, we know nothing about these aliens. This could be a trap." Nari understood Ji-woo's concern. But this was why they had come to space. Earth's resources were limited, and the planet's population was growing. If humanity could gain access to alien technology and join a galactic civilization, it could solve many of their problems. "What would this protocol involve?" Nari asked. "Your ship would travel to our testing facility in what you call the Kepler 442 system. There, your crew would undergo 3 evaluations. The first tests technological adaptation. The second measures biological resilience. The third examines psychological strength. These tests have been refined over many generations." Dr. Choi Min-ho, the ship's physicist, was practically bouncing with excitement. He was young and brilliant, always eager to learn about new technologies. "Captain, think about what we could learn. Their science must be centuries ahead of ours." "If your species passes the evaluation," the alien continued, "you will receive advanced technologies and an invitation to join our collective. You will have access to faster-than-light travel, unlimited energy sources, and medical advances that could extend human life indefinitely." Nari looked around the bridge at her crew. Most of them seemed excited about the opportunity. Only Ji-woo appeared. Worried, she made her decision based on what was best for humanity. "We accept your invitation," Nari said. "When and where should we meet?" "Excellent. We will transmit coordinates to your navigation system. Our representative, Yeltar, will meet you at the facility. The journey should take approximately 14 of your days using your current propulsion system." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge silent. Nari could feel the weight of her decision. She had just committed humanity to an unknown test with aliens they had never met. "Captain," Ji-woo said quietly, "I strongly recommend we contact Earth Command before proceeding." Nari nodded. "Da-hye, open a channel to Earth." It took several minutes to establish contact across the vast distance. When Admiral Bayek Chan-woo's face appeared on the screen, he looked tired. Earth's military leaders had been working around the clock since the Determination's departure. "Captain Nari, report your status." Nari explained the alien contact and their invitation. Admiral Bayek listened without interruption, his expression growing more serious with each detail. "This is unprecedented," he finally said. The Earth Council will need to discuss this immediately. For the next 6 hours, Nari waited while Earth's leaders debated. She used the time to review everything they knew about the Kepler 442 system. It was 47 light-years from Earth, with one potentially habitable planet. Earth's telescopes had detected unusual energy signatures there, but no one had known what caused them. When Admiral Bayek contacted them again, he brought the Council's decision. Captain, you are authorized to proceed with the evaluation. This opportunity is too important to refuse. However, you will maintain regular contact with Earth and abort the mission if you detect any danger. Understood, Admiral. Engineer An Sung-min began plotting their course while Dr. Tae-ho started preparing scientific equipment for studying alien technology. The excitement on the ship was contagious. They were about to become the first humans to interact directly with an alien civilization. Lieutenant Colonel Song Hye-jin, the ship's security chief, joined Ji-woo in planning defensive measures. Both were experienced military officers who understood that hope should never replace caution. I don't like this, Hye-jin told Ji-woo privately. Why would advanced aliens care about helping primitive species like us? My thoughts exactly, Ji-woo replied, but the captain has made her decision. Our job is to keep everyone safe. As the determination changed course toward the Kepler 442 system, Nari stood alone in her quarters looking at Earth through the porthole. The small blue dot was already disappearing behind them. She thought about the 4 billion humans living on that world, working, loving, and hoping for a better future. This mission could give humanity everything they needed to thrive among the stars. It could also be the biggest mistake in human history. But someone had to take the first step into the unknown. That was what explorers did. Nari touched the small photo of her family on her desk. Her parents had always encouraged her to reach for the stars. Now she was literally doing that. In 14 days, they would reach the alien facility and begin the evaluation that could change humanity's future forever. The stars ahead looked cold and distant, but they also held infinite possibilities. Whatever happened next, humanity would face it with courage and determination. That was who they were, and Nari was proud to represent her species in this historic moment. The Kepler 442 system appeared on the main screen as a collection of distant lights. Captain Nari had been awake for 18 hours straight, too nervous to sleep as they approached their destination. The past 14 days had been filled with preparation and growing anticipation. Captain, Dahai called from her station, I'm detecting a massive artificial structure ahead. It's enormous. Dr. Choi Min-ho looked up from his instruments with amazement. The energy readings are incredible. This thing is generating more power than our entire planet uses in a year. As they drew closer, the alien facility came into view. It was a space station unlike anything humans had ever imagined. The structure was at least 50 kilometers long and shaped like a complex geometric pattern that hurt to look at directly. Hundreds of smaller ships moved around it like insects around a flower. It's beautiful, whispered Dr. Kim Tae-ho. Look at those materials. I can't even identify what they're made from. Lieutenant Colonel Song Hye-jin was less impressed by the beauty. Her trained eye noticed other details. Captain, those aren't just research vessels. Some of those ships are heavily armed. This facility has enough firepower to destroy a small moon. Park Ji-woo stood beside Nari, his concern growing stronger. Why would a peaceful testing center need so many weapons? Before Nari could respond, the communication system activated. The same voice they had heard 2 weeks ago spoke to them. Welcome, humans. This is Yeltar. Please follow the navigation beacon to Docking Bay 7. We are eager to begin your evaluation. A stream of light appeared on their screen, leading them toward a section of the massive station. As they followed it, Nari could see through the station's transparent sections. There were beings moving inside, but they were too far away to see clearly. The docking bay was large enough to hold 20 ships the size of the Determination. As their vessel settled into place, mechanical arms extended from the walls to secure their ship. The process was efficient, but somehow felt like being trapped. Atmospheric readings show the docking bay is being filled with a breathable mixture, reported Dr. Tejo. Oxygen, nitrogen, and some trace gases. It's very close to Earth's atmosphere. How convenient, muttered Jiwoo. The airlock doors opened with a soft hiss. Standing outside were 3 alien beings. They were tall and thin, with pale blue skin and large dark eyes. Their faces were almost human-like, but somehow wrong in ways that made Nari uncomfortable. "I am Yeltar," said the center alien. Its voice was pleasant, but had an odd, mechanical quality. "Welcome to Advancement Station Prime. I am honored to guide humanity through the protocol." Nari stepped forward with Dr. Tejo and Jiwoo beside her. "Thank you for inviting us. We're eager to learn about your civilization." "As we are eager to learn about yours," Yeltar replied. "Come, let me show you where you will be staying and explain the evaluation process." They walked through corridors that seemed to stretch forever. The walls were covered in patterns that shifted and moved when Nari wasn't looking directly at them. The lighting was perfect, but she couldn't see where it came from. This station has served as an evaluation center for over 1,000 of your years, Yeltar explained as they walked. 12 species have undergone the protocol during that time. Each has contributed to our understanding of life in the galaxy. "What happened to those species?" asked Jiwoo. "Are they part of your collective now?" "Those who passed the evaluation have been welcomed into our community. They now contribute their unique abilities to our shared goals. Those who were not ready have been guided toward alternative paths more suitable to their nature." Engineer An Sung-min, who had joined the tour, raised his hand. "What kind of alternative paths?" "Every species has its place in the galactic order," Yeltar said without really answering the question. "Some are meant to lead, others to support. The protocol helps determine which role is most appropriate." They entered a large chamber with a transparent wall showing the space outside. Through it, Nari could see dozens of other ships docked at the station. Some looked familiar in design, while others were completely alien. "Are those ships from the other species you've evaluated?" she asked. "Some are. Others belong to our collective. Members who assist with the protocol. You will meet representatives from several species during your stay." Dr. Minho was scanning everything with his instruments. "The technology here is incredible. Some of these materials shouldn't be possible according to our physics." "Physics is simply a matter of understanding," Yeltar said, with what might have been a smile. "The protocol will help us determine if humanity is ready for such understanding." They were shown to comfortable quarters that had been prepared specifically for humans. The rooms had Earth-like gravity, familiar furniture, and even decorations that reminded Nari of home. It was thoughtful, but also somehow disturbing. How much did these aliens know about human culture? "The evaluation will begin tomorrow," Yeltar explained. "First, we will test your technological adaptation. Your species will interact directly with our advanced systems to measure your learning capacity." "What does that involve exactly?" asked Dr. Tejo. "Volunteers from your crew will interface with our neural networks. This allows rapid knowledge transfer and helps us assess your mental flexibility. It is completely safe and has been used successfully with all previous species." Jiwoo didn't like the sound of that. "Neural networks? You want to connect our brains to your computers?" "The process is non-invasive and temporary. Your volunteers will experience no permanent effects. Many species find the knowledge sharing quite enlightening." After Yeltar left them to settle in, Nari gathered her senior staff in their meeting room. The walls were designed to look like wood paneling from Earth, which made the conversation feel strange and unreal. "Something doesn't feel right about this," Jiwoo said immediately. "Did you notice how they avoided direct answers to our questions?" Hai-Jin nodded. "And why so many weapons for a research station?" They have enough firepower here to conquer a solar system. Maybe they need protection from hostile species, suggested Dr. Tejo. Not every civilization might be as peaceful as we hope to be. Engineer Sungmin had been quiet during the tour, but now he spoke up. I've been analyzing the energy signatures from this station. The power distribution doesn't match what they've told us. A lot of energy is going to systems that aren't research equipment. What kind of systems? Nari asked. Weapons, containment fields, and something else I can't identify, but it's using massive amounts of power. Nari felt a chill run down her spine. Keep monitoring those readings, but do it quietly. Captain, Dahai said, I've been trying to establish communication with Earth, but something is interfering with our signals. It might be natural interference from the station's energy output. Or it might not be, Ji Woo added grimly. Na-Ri looked around at her team. They were smart, dedicated people who had volunteered for this mission, knowing the risks. Now those risks were starting to feel more real. We're here now, she said. We'll proceed with the evaluation, but everyone stays alert. If this turns dangerous, we leave immediately. Outside their quarters, the alien station hummed with activity. Strange sounds echoed through the corridors, and shadows moved in ways that defied explanation. Nari tried to tell herself it was just unfamiliar technology, but her instincts were warning her that humanity might have made a terrible mistake. The first test chamber looked innocent enough. White walls, soft lighting, and a chair that resembled something from a dentist's office on Earth. But the helmet suspended above it was clearly alien technology, covered in patterns that seemed to move when Nari wasn't looking directly at them. The neural interface is completely safe, Yeltar assured them for the third time. Lieutenant Dahai has volunteered to be your first representative. She will experience rapid knowledge transfer about our basic technologies. Dahai sat in the chair trying to look confident. She was young and brave, always volunteering for dangerous assignments. How long will this take? Approximately 1 of your hours, replied the alien technician operating the equipment. You may experience some disorientation, but this is normal. Captain, Nari stood nearby with Dr. Tejo and Ji Woo. Something felt wrong about the whole situation, but she couldn't identify what. The alien technology was so advanced that even their best scientists couldn't understand how it worked. The helmet descended slowly onto Dahai's head. Immediately, her body went rigid and her eyes rolled back. Strange symbols appeared on the screens around the room, moving too fast for human eyes to follow. Is she supposed to look like that? Nari asked with concern. The neural pathways are adapting to our information systems, Yeltar explained calmly. This appearance is normal during the interface process. But Dr. Tejo was watching the biological monitors they had been allowed to attach to Dahai. Her brain activity was spiking far beyond normal levels. Her heart rate was increasing dangerously. Her vital signs are becoming unstable, he warned. Human physiology is different from other species we have tested, the technician said without concern. The process requires some adjustment. For 45 minutes, Dahai remained motionless while alien symbols flowed across the screens. When the helmet finally lifted, she blinked slowly and looked around the room as if seeing it for the first time. Dahai? Nari asked gently. How do you feel? Strange. There are things in my head that weren't there before. Knowledge about their ships, their energy systems. She paused, pressing her hands to her temples. But I can't remember some things from before. Personal memories seem foggy. Dr. Tejo immediately began examining her. Her responses were slower than normal, and she seemed confused about basic facts from her own life. What's your mother's name? He asked. Dahai stared at him blankly for several seconds. I'm not sure. Is that important? Nari felt anger rising in her chest. What did you do to her? The process sometimes causes temporary memory displacement, Yeltar said casually. Her personal memories will return as the new knowledge settles. This is a normal side effect. You didn't mention any side effects before, Jiwoo said accusingly. We assumed your species would adapt similarly to others. Each civilization responds slightly differently to the neural interface. They took Dahai back to their quarters for rest and observation. Dr. Tejo ran every test he could think of, but the alien technology had changed her brain in ways he couldn't understand or reverse. The next day brought the biological resilience test. The test chamber was filled with various alien devices designed to measure human physical responses. Dr. Shin Bo-Ra, their medical officer, had volunteered for this evaluation. We will expose you to various environmental conditions, explained the alien technician. Temperature variations, atmospheric changes, and some mild toxins. This helps us understand your species' survival capabilities. What followed was 3 hours of systematic torture disguised as scientific testing. Bo-Ra was exposed to extreme heat and cold, poisonous gases that made her violate sick, and radiation that left her weak and shaking. This seems excessive, Nari protested as Bo-Ra vomited for the 4th time. Human biology is remarkably resilient, Yeltar observed, watching the monitors with interest. Most species would have collapsed by now. Your pain tolerance is particularly fascinating. Pain tolerance? Nari realized with horror that they weren't just testing human limits. They were studying how much suffering humans could endure. Throughout the test, alien scientists took detailed notes about human pain responses. They seemed especially interested in how long humans could remain conscious during various forms of distress. When Bo-Ra finally emerged from the chamber, she was barely able to walk. The toxins had left her system damaged in ways that might be permanent. But what disturbed Nari most was the satisfied expression on the alien observers' faces. That evening, Jiwoo approached Nari privately. He had been conducting his own investigation of the station while the tests proceeded. "Captain, I've found something you need to see," he said quietly. "I managed to access part of their data network while they were focused on the tests." He showed her a small device he had constructed from spare parts. "I've been recording their internal communications. Most of it is in their language, but some parts are in languages I recognize from other species." "What did you find?" "References to 12 previous species that underwent this protocol, but Captain, none of them are listed as current members of the collective. They're all classified as integrated labor resources or compliance units." Nari felt her blood turn cold. "What does that mean?" "I think it means they weren't accepted as equals. They were turned into slaves." Jiwoo showed her more data he had gathered. "There are detailed psychological profiles of each species, focusing on their breaking points, how much stress, pain, and fear it takes to destroy their will to resist." The tests aren't evaluations, Nari realized with growing horror. "They're research into how to break us. There's more. I found references to conditioning protocols and compliance enhancement. Captain, I think the final test, the psychological evaluation, is designed to destroy our independence entirely." Nari stared at the data, feeling sick. "How many other species are here against their will?" "According to these records, there are representatives from 8 different civilizations on this station, but they are not here as guests or allies. They're here as prisoners being used to help break new species." That night, Nari gathered her senior staff in the most secure room they could find. She shared Jiwoo's discoveries with them, watching their faces change from confusion to anger to determination. "So what do we do?" asked Engineer Sungmin. "We figure out how to get out of here," Nari said firmly. "And we warn Earth about what's really happening." "What about Dahai and Bo-Ra?" asked Dr. Tejo. "They need medical treatment that we can't provide here." "We take them with us," Nari replied. "No one gets left behind." Lieutenant Colonel Jin was already thinking tactically. They'll never let us leave voluntarily. We'll have to fight our way out. Against a station with enough firepower to destroy planets? Sung Min asked. If necessary, Nari said with steel in her voice. These aliens made one mistake. They assumed humans would react like their previous victims. They don't understand that the more you hurt us, the more dangerous we become. Outside their quarters, the alien station continued its dark work. Somewhere in its depths, other species that had once been proud and free now served their conquerors without question. But humanity would not join them quietly. The Vorthok had called this an experiment. Nari was beginning to think of it as something else entirely. Captain Nari marched through the station corridors with purpose, her senior staff flanking her on both sides. She had spent the night reviewing Jiwoo's evidence and preparing for this confrontation. The time for diplomatic courtesy was over. She found Yeltar in the main observation chamber, watching displays that showed other beings undergoing various forms of testing. The alien turned toward her with what might have been surprise. Captain Nari, you seem distressed. Are you concerned about tomorrow's psychological evaluation? I'm concerned about the lies you've been telling us, Nari said bluntly. We know what this place really is. Yeltar's large, dark eyes showed no emotion. I'm not sure what you mean. Jiwoo stepped forward with his makeshift recording device. We accessed your data networks. We know about the 12 species that came before us. We know what happened to them. They failed the evaluation and were given roles more suited to their capabilities, Yeltar replied calmly. They were enslaved, Nari said angrily. You broke their minds and turned them into workers. This isn't a test for membership in your collective. It's a method of conquest. For the first time, the alien's expression changed. Something like amusement flickered in its eyes. Your species learns quickly. Yes, that is correct. The casual admission hit Nari like a physical blow. She had hoped they were wrong, that there was some other explanation. Why? Why do this to innocent civilizations? Because it is efficient, Yeltar said, as if explaining something obvious. The galaxy contains many species with useful traits. Some are strong, others are intelligent, still others are creative. Rather than compete with them or destroy them entirely, we incorporate their best qualities into our collective. Dr. Tae-ho spoke up, his voice shaking with rage. You're talking about people, living beings with their own cultures, families, dreams. Primitive concepts, Yeltar dismissed. Individual identity is inefficient. Collective purpose is far superior. The species we have integrated are happier now. They no longer suffer from the anxiety of making decisions or the pain of personal loss. Lieutenant Colonel Jin had been studying the displays around the room. Those beings being tested right now, they're from the species you've already broken, aren't they? You're using them to perfect your methods on us. Correct. Each species we integrate provides new insights into biological and psychological control. Your humans have proven particularly interesting. Your pain tolerance is exceptional, and your neural pathways show remarkable adaptability. What's the third test really designed to do? Nari demanded. Yeltar seemed happy to explain, as if sharing details of an impressive scientific achievement. The psychological evaluation systematically destroys the mental structures that create individual identity. We bombard subjects with carefully designed psychological stressors while dampening the brain chemicals that produce hope and defiance. He gestured toward a complex machine visible through the chamber's transparent wall. The process typically takes between 6 and 12 hours depending on the species. Afterward, subjects retain their skills and memories but lose all desire for independence. They become perfectly compliant and content with whatever role we assign them. And if we refuse to participate, Jiwoo asked, then your species will Be classified as irredeemably hostile and dealt with accordingly. We have already dispatched fleets toward your homeworld. They will arrive in approximately 60 of your days. Nari felt the world spinning around her. You're going to attack Earth only if necessary. If you undergo the conditioning process successfully, we will instead arrive as liberators, offering to free your people from the burden of individual choice. Either way, humanity will serve the collective. Dr. Lim Jae-sung, their ship's psychologist, had been listening in growing horror. How many civilizations have you destroyed this way? Destroyed is inaccurate. We have integrated 47 species over the past millennium. Each continues to exist and contribute according to their abilities. Death is wasteful. We prefer transformation. What about species that resist the conditioning? Hyejin asked. None have, Yeltar said with confidence. The psychological evaluation is the result of centuries of refinement. We have broken the strongest wills and the most stubborn minds. Your species will prove no different. Nari looked around at her team and saw her own determination reflected in their faces. These aliens had made a fundamental error in their calculations. They had observed humanity from a distance and thought they understood them. But they had never encountered humans when they were truly angry. You're wrong, she said quietly. Explain. You studied our pain tolerance and our learning ability. You analyzed our biology and our technology. But you missed the most important thing about humans, which is, we don't break. We don't give up. And when someone threatens our families and our freedom, we don't negotiate, we fight. Yeltar made a sound that might have been laughter. Emotional responses. Every species claims they will resist until the moment the conditioning begins. Your defiance will fade like all the others. No, Nari said with absolute certainty. It won't. The alien touched a control panel and suddenly the chamber was filled with armed guards. They were beings from various species, all wearing the same blank expression of perfect compliance. Your crew will report for psychological evaluation in 1 hour, Yeltar announced. Resistance will result in additional discomfort but will not change the ultimate outcome. And if we refuse, then you will be restrained and processed anyway. The choice is whether you walk to the conditioning chamber or are dragged there. Nari looked at the guards surrounding them. Some had once been human-like, others were completely alien, but all showed the same empty obedience. This was what the Vorthak wanted to do to her crew, to her species, to everyone on Earth. I need to speak with my people first, she said. You have 15 minutes. Then the guards will escort you to the conditioning chambers. As they were led back to their quarters under heavy guard, Nari's mind was racing. They were trapped on an alien station with no way to contact Earth and no apparent means of escape. In less than an hour, the Vorthak would begin the process of destroying everything that made them human. But as she looked at her crew, at Jiwoo's determined expression, at Hyejin's tactical assessment of their guards, at the barely controlled fury in Dr. Taeho's eyes, Nari realized something important. The aliens had studied humanity's strengths, but they had completely misunderstood human nature. They thought humans were just another species to be cataloged and controlled. They didn't understand that humans became most dangerous when they had nothing left to lose. Captain, Jiwoo said quietly as they reached their quarters. What are your orders? Nari looked out at the stars through their window, thinking of Earth and the 4 billion people who had no idea what was coming for them. When she spoke, her voice was steady and filled with purpose. They called this an experiment, she said. I call it an act of war. The 15 minutes passed like heartbeats. Captain Nari stood before her assembled crew in their quarters, looking at each face individually. These were the best humans Earth had to offer. Scientists, soldiers, engineers, and explorers. In a few minutes, alien guards would come to take them to psychological conditioning chambers designed to destroy everything that made them who they were. Listen to me carefully, Nari said. her voice steady despite the circumstances. "They called this an experiment. I call it an act of war. These aliens think they understand humanity because they've studied our pain responses and our learning patterns. But they don't understand the most important thing about us." Dr. Tejo, still recovering from watching the aliens torture Dr. Bora, looked up with fierce eyes. "What's that, Captain?" "We don't surrender. Not ever. Not when our families are threatened. Not when our planet is in danger, and especially not when someone tries to take away what makes us human." Engineer On Sung-min raised his hand. "Captain, I've been studying the power distribution systems while they've been distracted with the tests. I think I can overload their main reactor if I can reach the engineering sections." "That would kill everyone on the station," Dr. Lim Jae-sung pointed out. "Better than letting them turn us into slaves and then do the same to Earth," Sung-min replied grimly. Iltit. Colonel Hae-jin was already thinking tactically. "The guards they showed us are from broken species. They might be physically strong, but they won't have initiative or creativity. We can use that against them." "What about Dahai?" asked Dr. Tejo. "The neural interface damaged her memories. Can she still function in a fight?" Lieutenant Dahai, who had been sitting quietly since her ordeal, suddenly looked up with clearer eyes than she'd shown in days. "Captain, the alien knowledge they forced into my head. I understand their systems now, their security protocols, their ship designs, their communication networks." "Your memories seem to be returning," Dr. Tejo observed with relief. "Some of them. But more importantly, I know how their technology works. I can help us fight back." Nari felt hope rising in her chest. "What do you know about their defenses?" "Their containment field around our ship is generated from 3 nodes positioned around the docking bay. If we can destroy even one of them, the field will collapse and we can escape." Chief Engineer Kang Soo-bin, who had been quietly working with her tools, looked up from a device she was building. "I've been modifying our fusion drive's containment system. If I can get to the ship and overload it near their power grid, it should create a cascade failure throughout this section of the station." "How big of an explosion are we talking about?" Nari asked. "Big enough to cripple their ability to pursue us. Maybe big enough to destroy the entire facility." The sound of approaching footsteps echoed in the corridor outside. "The guards were coming. Everyone listen," Nari said urgently. "We're going to split into 3 teams. Team 1 will fight toward the ship and try to escape. Team 2 will head for the power grid to cause maximum damage. Team 3 will try to reach their communication systems and warn Earth." "Captain," Jiwoo said quietly, "some of us aren't going to make it out of this." Nari looked at him with pride. "I know, but that's not what matters. What matters is that Earth knows what's coming and that humanity doesn't go quietly into slavery." The door to their quarters suddenly opened. 6 guards entered, all from different alien species, but wearing the same blank expression of perfect compliance. Behind them came Yeltar and several other Vorthak. "It is time," Yeltar announced. "You will now proceed to the conditioning chambers." Nari stepped forward. "We have a counter-proposal." "Counter-proposal?" "Go to hell." Nari threw herself at the nearest guard while Hae-jin attacked another. The quarters erupted into chaos as humans fought with desperate fury against beings who had been bred for compliance. The guards were strong and well-armed, but they fought like robots following programming. They had no creativity, no ability to adapt to unexpected tactics. The humans fought like cornered animals protecting their young. Dr. Tejo grabbed an alien weapon and turned it on its former owner. Sung-min used his engineering tools as weapons, striking with precision at what looked like vulnerable points on the guard's anatomy. Dahai, despite her injuries, managed to access a wall panel and began disrupting the station's internal systems. Lights flickered and alarms began sounding throughout the facility. "The neural pathways!" she shouted over the noise. "I can see their command structure. The conditioning chambers are 3 levels down." Jiwoo fought his way to Yeltar, who was trying to call for reinforcements. "You made one mistake," he said. grabbing the alien by what might have been its throat. "You thought we were like your other victims?" "All species resist initially," Yeltar gasped. "The conditioning removes such pointless defiance." "You still don't get it," Jiwoo replied. "We're not resisting because we're afraid. We're fighting because we choose to. And that's something your broken slaves will never understand." The fight spilled out into the corridors as more guards arrived. But something unexpected was happening. Some of the other aliens on the station, members of supposedly broken species, were beginning to act strangely. Seeing humans fight with such determination seemed to be awakening something in them that the conditioning had suppressed. A being that looked like a tall, crystalline structure suddenly turned on its Vorthak supervisor. Others began moving with purpose instead of mindless obedience. "Impossible," Yeltar whispered as he watched his perfect system begin to collapse. "The conditioning is irreversible." "Maybe for your previous victims," Nari said, bleeding from several wounds but still fighting. "But they never saw humans refuse to give up. Hope is contagious." Sungmin and Subin fought their way toward the engineering sections while Da Hai used her newfound knowledge of alien systems to cause chaos throughout the station. Doors locked randomly, gravity failed in some sections, and communication systems began broadcasting Earth's coordinates to what sounded like resistance groups throughout the galaxy. Dr. Bora, despite her injuries from the biological testing, managed to reach the medical facilities and began treating other victims of the Vorthak experiments. What she found there would fuel human anger for generations to come. "Captain!" Hyejin called out as she fought through a group of guards. "The path to the ship is clear. Subin is almost at the reactor." Nari made a decision that would haunt and inspire her for the rest of her life. "Get to the ship with whoever you can. I'm going to make sure Subin completes her mission." "Captain, that's suicide." "Maybe, but it's our choice to make." As Hyejin led a group toward the docking bay, Nari and the remaining crew members fought deeper into the station. Around them, the facility was beginning to tear itself apart as suppressed rebellion spread like wildfire through the supposedly broken populations. In the engineering section, Subin worked frantically to overload the reactor while Sungmin held off guards with improvised weapons. "Almost got it," she called out. 30 more seconds." "We don't have 30 seconds," Sungmin replied as more guards approached. That's when Dr. Taeho made his choice. He grabbed several explosive devices from their emergency supplies and charged the approaching guards. "For Earth!" he shouted. The explosion cleared the path, but took Taeho with it. Subin used those precious seconds to complete her work on the reactor. "Cascade failure initiated," she announced with satisfaction. "This place is going to tear itself apart." Throughout the station, freed slaves and desperate humans fought together against their former captors. And in space, the Determination's engines roared to life as the containment field finally collapsed. The Determination shook violently as Chief Engineer Kang Subin's sabotage sent cascading explosions throughout the alien station. Captain Nari strapped herself into the pilot's seat as Lieutenant Colonel Hyejin struggled to coordinate their escape through the chaos. "Hull breach on level 7, reported Engineer Sungmin from the engine room. "I can patch it, but we need to get clear of the station now." Through the main view screen, Nari watched the massive alien facility tear itself apart. Sections that had housed thousands of beings were venting atmosphere into space. Some areas exploded in brilliant flashes, while others simply went dark as power systems failed. "Captain," Da Hai called from her communications station, "I'm picking up escape pods launching from all over the station. It looks like the other enslaved species are trying to get away too." "Good," Nari said grimly. "Help them if you can. Send them navigation data for their home systems." The station's final explosion lit up the entire star system. When the light faded, only debris remained of the facility that had broken so many civilizations. But the victory had come at a terrible cost. "Casualties report," Nari ordered quietly. Dr. Shin Bora, who was treating wounded crew members in the medical bay, provided the grim numbers. We lost Dr. Taeho in the engineering section. Chief Engineer Subin didn't make it to the escape pods. Specialist Yoon Da-hye has permanent brain damage from the neural interface. 8 others have serious injuries. Nari closed her eyes for a moment, thinking of Kim Tae-ho's excitement when they first met the aliens, and Subin's determination to save Earth, even at the cost of her own life. Good people had died because humanity had trusted the wrong aliens. Set course for Earth maximum speed, she ordered. We need to warn them about the Vorthak fleets. The journey home took 16 days, but it felt like months. During that time, Nari worked with her surviving crew to compile everything they had learned about the Vorthak Collective and their methods of conquest. Da-hye, despite her injuries, had retained much of the alien knowledge forced into her brain. She helped them understand Vorthak technology, their military tactics, and most importantly, the locations of other species still enslaved by the collective. "Captain," she said during one of their planning sessions, "there are dozens of civilizations under Vorthak control. Some have been enslaved for centuries. They've forgotten what freedom even means." "Then we'll remind them," Nari replied with steel in her voice. When Earth finally appeared on their screens, Nari felt a mixture of relief and dread. They had made it home, but they brought terrible news. The Vorthak fleets would arrive in less than 40 days. Admiral Baek Chan-woo met them at the orbital station, his face grim as he reviewed their report. "Captain, what you're describing sounds like the worst-case scenario for first contact." "It is, Admiral. These aliens don't want to trade with us or learn from us. They want to break us and use us as slaves. And they're very good at it. Earth Council is meeting in emergency session. Your testimony will determine humanity's response." Nari found herself standing before the leaders of every nation on Earth, describing horrors that most people couldn't imagine. She told them about the neural conditioning, the systematic torture disguised as testing, and the fleets already approaching their solar system. "How long do we have?" asked the Chinese representative. 37 days until the first ships arrive. Maybe 42 until the main fleet gets here. "Can we negotiate with them?" asked the European delegate. "No," Nari said firmly. "They see us as resources to be harvested, not as people to negotiate with. The only choice is fight or be enslaved." "What are our chances in a military conflict?" Admiral Baek asked. "Honestly, not good. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours, but we have one advantage they don't expect." "Which is?" "They're used to fighting broken species that have given up hope. They've never faced an enemy that gets stronger when threatened." The debate continued for hours, but the conclusion was inevitable. Earth would fight. Every ship, every weapon, every person would be mobilized to defend humanity's freedom. Nari was promoted to admiral and given command of Earth's defense fleet. It wasn't much, 47 combat vessels and maybe twice that many support ships. Against a galactic empire, it seemed like nothing. But as the weeks passed, something remarkable happened. Word of humanity's defiance spread throughout the galaxy. The escape pods from the destroyed station carried survivors to distant worlds, telling stories of humans who refused to surrender even when facing certain death. Resistance movements that had been suppressed for centuries began to stir. Species that had forgotten their own names started to remember what freedom felt like. The Vorthak found their empire facing uprisings on dozens of worlds simultaneously. "Admiral," Da-hye reported from the communications center, "we're receiving messages from 7 different star systems. Former Vorthak slaves are asking for our help in fighting their oppressors." Nari smiled for the first time in weeks. "Send them everything we learned about Vorthak technology and tactics, and let them know that Earth will not abandon them." When the Vorthak fleets finally arrived at the edge of the solar system, they found something they hadn't expected. Instead of a single terrified world, they faced a coalition of free species united by human determination. The battle for Earth lasted 3 days. Humanity's small fleet fought with desperate courage, while refugee ships from liberated worlds provided support. The space around Earth became a graveyard of ships from both sides. But when the smoke cleared, the Vorthak had been defeated, not destroyed completely, but broken as a galactic power. Their empire crumbled as enslaved species everywhere rose up, inspired by the humans who had chosen death over submission. Admiral Nari stood on the bridge of her flagship, looking out at the debris field that surrounded Earth. So many good people had died in the fighting, but their sacrifice had freed not just humanity, but dozens of other civilizations. "Admiral," her communications officer reported, "we're receiving a priority message from the Kepler 442 system." "Put it through." The voice that came through the speakers was familiar but different. It was Yel Tar, but the mechanical certainty was gone from its tone. "Admiral Nari, I am no longer part of the collective. Your actions have freed my people as well. We wish to apologize for what we did to your species." "Apology noted," Nari replied coldly. "But the real question is what you're going to do now." "We want to help. My people have knowledge of other collective facilities, other enslaved worlds. We want to help you free them all." Nari considered this for a long moment. The easy thing would be to refuse, to let the Vorthak deal with their own problems. But that wasn't who humans were. "Send us the locations," she said finally. "But understand this. If you betray us again, there won't be a third chance." "Understood." "And Admiral, thank you. You showed us something we had forgotten. You showed us what courage looks like." As Nari ended the transmission, she thought about Dr. Tejo's excitement at meeting aliens and Subin's sacrifice to protect Earth. They had dreamed of humanity, joining a galactic community as equals. In a way, that dream had come true. But instead of joining an existing community, humanity had created a new one. A community based on freedom rather than oppression, on choice rather than control. "Admiral," her tactical officer reported, "long-range sensors are detecting distress, signals from the Tau Ceti system. Looks like another Vorthak slave facility." Nari looked out at the stars, thinking of all the beings still trapped in alien conditioning chambers, still believing that resistance was futile. They were wrong. Resistance wasn't futile. It was the most human thing possible. "Set course for Tau Ceti," she ordered. "Let's go remind the galaxy what freedom looks like." The war was far from over, but for the first time in 1,000 years, the enslaved peoples of the galaxy had hope. And that hope had a name. They called it humanity.